Okay, everybody, it's time for an update video for BBR Chicago. I hope to do one each week. Just go over some of the basics of the tournament and how they're run. If you're a veteran of BBR tournaments, this is not going to be much of anything new to you. So this is just for the people who have not attended Chicago yet or are new. And I think almost everybody on the roster has attended at least one tournament before. So I just want to go over the seeding system for day one and day two. We're going to run the same system as we did last year, which was a top tier versus low tier for day one, and then day two, it was based on scoring. So I'll go over that in a little bit. And I do have a video that I made last year, which included some graphics that sort of visually show how this works. It's not terribly complicated, but describing it can sound complicated. So I'll include a link to that video in the description below. And that was the system used in St. Louis recently, and I believe Atlanta last year as well. So it looks like it's a good system, and we're going to keep going with it. But before I get into the seeding system for day one, what feeds into the seeding system is your team combined PLA. So your PLA is based on your tournament performance divided by how many tournaments you have attended. And that's sort of like your ranking or score or rating. So if, for example, someone on your team has a 3.0 PLA and another person has a 1.0 PLA, that would total 4.0 divided by 2 players on that team. That means your team combined PLA is 2.0. So a player lifetime average score is based off of a 10-point system. So for every non-medal round tournament game that you win, you get a point. For each loss, you're not penalized. But if you make it to the medal rounds, there are certain additional bonus points that you can get. So for example, if you play in a medal round iron or bronze game, but you lose, you get an additional point. If you play in a silver round game and lose, you get 2 points, and gold would be 3. So let's say the first 2 days that are non-medal round games, you win. So you get 2 points right there. You make it to the silver table, but you lose. So you get an additional 2 points there. So your final score for that tournament is 4 points. That's how that would work. 10 points would be a perfect score. That's if you're going and winning your first 2 days, non-medal round games, and then you make it to the gold game and you win. The gold win bonus is 8 points. Silver medal win is 6 points. Bronze is 4, and iron, I believe, is 2. Yeah, iron is 2. Just double checking. So a perfect score would be a 10.0. Going 2-0 on the first 2 days, and then winning silver would be an 8.0, and then so on. So just a little background there. When we have the full roster of teams, let's say, for example, we have 10 teams. We're going to split that in half between 5 upper tier teams, top tier teams, and 5 lower tier teams. And what we do going into day one for the seeding is we will take the top of the top tier team, and we'll just random draw which lower tier team they're going to be playing on day one. And we'll just go down the line from there. Something I didn't mention in last year's video is that the top half within the top half, let's just put it that way, they will be playing Axis on day one, no matter what. So since right now we currently have an odd number of teams in the top tier and the lower tier, I'm going to have to make a determination as to whether it's going to be 2 teams playing Axis day one or 3 teams. And that's going to be based on, the team PLA discrepancies, perhaps, or the variability within that for the top tier. So I can't say as of right now what I'm going to decide to do with that, but the top half of the top tier will be playing Axis day one. So that means whoever they draw against from the lower tier will be playing Allies day one. The lower half of the top tier, I got no visuals here to show you, but the lower half of that top tier will be playing Allies. And consequently then the whatever lower tier teams that they play will be playing Axis. Day two, no matter what, you will be playing the opposite side. So if you played Axis day one, you will play Allies day two, and so on. So pretty straightforward. Now, day two is based on your scoring for day one, and that's scoring within the game itself is a little bit different. You are all pretty much familiar with how the scoring works. Maybe I'll go over that at the end of this video just in case, just as a refresher. So based on how you score in your day one games, that will feed into who you play on day two. So with day two, what's going to happen is say you played Axis on day one, okay? We take all of the top Axis scores from first to last. So let's just say that for our earlier example, there was 10 total teams. 5 teams are going to be playing Axis no matter what. 5 teams are going to be playing Allies no matter what. So what we'll do is we'll take the 5 Axis scores, so from top Axis score all the way down to bottom Axis score, and then the top Allied score all the way to bottom Allied score. So there's going to be 5 Axis scores, 5 Allied scores. And then what we do from there is we'll split those two groups in half so that the top Axis team will play the lowest Allied team within that top bracket. Sorry, I don't have visuals. Again, my video from last year, I have visuals and it's a lot better. So if you need visuals, please reference that video. And then we'll go from there. The top Allied score will play the bottom Axis score within that top tier again. We'll do the same thing with the lower tier team. So the top Axis within the lower tier, based on the day one scoring, will play the low Allied score within that bottom tier, and so on. So that's sort of how we keep day two a little bit more challenging for teams, and it's not top versus absolute bottom for day two. So in past tournaments that have employed this, Chicago, St. Louis, Atlanta, it's turned out great. Day two is always more challenging than day one, and that's the way it should be. And then going into day three, based on your cumulative score from day one and day two, you will be able to make a determination of which medal round game you play in if you qualify for the medal rounds. So, for example, after 2 days of games, let's say you won both of your games and you are the top scorer overall, you will get first pick as to whether you're playing for the gold, silver, or bronze table. Now, if you are the second overall score, second top overall score, you will get the second pick. So let's say, for example, that top team got to pick who got to pick first. They're like, okay, well, we're going to gold. Let's play for the gold table. And then the second overall score team will be like, okay, well, do I want to play for gold against those guys who just picked the gold table, or do I want to go for silver or bronze? And then so on, and we will go down the list. Basically, the top 6 scoring teams will have the first 6 choices to play for the medal rounds on day 3. So that's how it works. That's how the scoring works after 2 days. Other than that, the scoring within the game itself, we all know the game. I mean, everyone who's coming knows BBR, that it's a 12 victory point system for the Axis. If the Axis fall below 12 victory points, they lose. If they score 12 or more, they win. The Allies score additional points for every original Axis territory that they take by the end of the game. So, for example, if 5 of the Japanese islands are taken, now it has to be original Japanese islands or territories, so it has to have the Japanese roundel printed on the map. Similarly, Italy and Germany over on the other side of the map as well. If you have, let's say, 5 of those territories by the end of the game, you get an additional 5 points, even if you lose. So, for example, if you were playing the Allies and you held the Axis to only 13 victory points, so you lose, you would get an additional 5 points for taking those original territories. So your final score at the end of that game would be 5 points. Similarly, if you were that Axis player, you would have 13 victory points plus the 20-point win bonus. So each team that wins gets a 20-point win bonus. That puts them at 33, but then you would subtract the original Axis territories that you lost to the Allies. So 33 minus 5 would be 28. Your final score would be 28 for your game. So that's how it works. So you can win additional points other than just your win bonus or your victory points or how many original Axis territories you took by also shutting out a team. So a shutout is when the game ends early by holding either Berlin, Tokyo, or Washington, D.C., and your opponent is not able to get it back within a round. So if that happens, that is the only instance where a game will end early, and you can win additional points by that happening. We actually had one or two times last year where this happened. We had Berlin fall on round 4, and the Axis were not able to get it back, and the game ended early. So, and depending on which round that this happens, that the capital is actually lost, your bonus will be higher. So if it happens on round 5 or earlier, let's say you lost Berlin on round 5 and you couldn't get it back on round 6, you will get 20 additional points on top of your win bonus and victory points. And if you're the Allies' original access territories that you took. If it's round 6, then it's 15 points. If it's round 7, it's 10 points. If it's round 8, it's 5 points. So even up until round 8, you can get an additional bonus for taking one of those 3 cities and holding it. So just to let you know that. Quitting. Quitting a game and not completing it, even if you're losing very badly, is pretty much banned. I don't want to see that happen because everybody's coming from all over the place, spending money on hotels, taking the time to be here. You owe a courtesy, and you need to have the sportsmanship to play out a game, and even if you know you're going to lose. That's the courteous thing to do. So if you do quit, I can't control you, but if you do quit, you're completely banned from Chicago in the future. And, pretty sure everybody will be talking about that and know your name. So don't quit. Don't quit. Be a man. Stick it through. Other than that, that's all I got for you. And if your team does run out of time, your time on the clock, say you used up all your 6 hours, you're not allowed to make any more moves or purchases. You can only just roll your defense rolls. So say if your opponent is attacking you somewhere, you can just roll the defense rolls. Since you've ran out your time, you cannot make any more moves or purchases. You're just basically, your pieces on the board are frozen in time. They can only be attacked by your opponent. That's the only change that can happen to those pieces. So be mindful of your time. Last year, we didn't have anyone run out of time, so that was good. I don't think I've heard of that happening at any other tournament this year or last year. I really honestly, I don't remember, but it doesn't happen very often. So 6 hours per team is usually enough to get the job done. That's about it for scoring and points. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Our schedule, I'll just go over the schedule real quick. Thursday at 7 p.m., we'll have a mixer. So everybody can just come to the hotel, the conference room where we're having the games, and just meet up, set up your table. All the tournaments do some form of this the day before the first game starts. So Thursday, which is the 20th, at 7 p.m., we'll have a mixer at the Hampton Inn and Suites, Addison, Illinois. And then day 1 games will begin at 8 a.m. So if you want to get there earlier and start earlier, just let me know, and that's fine. Everything will be running on the clocks. I think I went over clocks in the last video, but just go over it again. Each team will have 6 hours each day for their games. So whenever it's not your turn, the clock will flip to the other side. These are chess clocks. So if you look up like a chess clock, basically you just tap it and then the clock will start running for the other side. So if you're allies, you'll flip it and it'll go to the axis. And the clock does not stop unless there's some kind of illness or very strange instance in the game, like a table gets knocked over or something very drastic. But we want to keep the clock going as much as possible to keep things fair. Day 2, same thing, start at 8 a.m. Day 3, basically the same thing. So it's going to be basically 8 a.m. start each day. And yeah, that's it. That's all I got for you this week, I guess. And just leave me any questions that you have about the tournament. And if you're interested in attending, also, please let me know, because we are less than 1 month away from BBR Chicago 2, and I need to know real soon if you do plan to attend. So that's going to determine how many pieces and tables I need. So, all right, guys, take care. Hope to see you there.